Pretty much the entire world tells you you're wrong about things. And it's like, and 90% of what people have told you you're wrong about is what you're actually good at. What if what you're good at is way better than what you think it is? And what if you were willing to have that goodness, that joy, that possibility, instead of thinking that there was something wrong with you?
When you have a solution to a problem without a change of awareness, that solution eventually becomes the problem. So my solution was be the winner and I'll never have to feel this again. And at the end of all that, the winner was the problem. You know, I had to actually deconstruct the winner in me. I fell in love with the process of doing the work on yourself, the inner work to be the person you really want to be. And then as you strip away the layers, what's left is who you really are.
Start looking to be in question. You know, it's like when you have a conclusion, you cannot receive anything that doesn't match your conclusion. When you have a judgment, anything that doesn't match your judgment, you cannot receive. If you have no definition of what you're willing to have, then you can have unlimited things and unlimited possibilities and unlimited everything. There were a bunch of people who I met who were saying, oh, my kid is ADD and has all these terrible problems and stuff. And I went, wait a minute, what if this is not a terrible problem? Because I watched these kids that supposedly had OCD, ADD, ADHD, and autism, especially the autistic kids. They picked up my thoughts, and I could think at them, and I'd watch them do things, and I go, wait a minute, how come this kid can do that and most people can't?
Can you talk to us about the abilities, the capacities that what we call X-Men, which is all of these quote unquote labels, and how we can be with them?
Well, first of all, you got to get that they are not disabilities. They're abilities that have been unrecognized, and they're abilities that people don't see how to use them, and it's like they don't know how to use them, and they don't know what to do with them. I had the experience with several of my friends where they would start to talk about something and I'd finish the sentence. I went, how am I doing this? Because there was nothing in my background that indicated that was the way it should work. And so I thought, okay, what am I missing here? And it's like I went, okay, so if you can pick up other people's thoughts, feelings, or emotions, then what else is possible here we haven't ever considered? And I began to realize that these kids had this capacity to think at you and get an answer. And I watched a couple of people who had little kids where their kid would think something at him and the parent would go do it. I go, why did you do that? Well, because I just knew he had to have it. I knew it. And I went, oh, so we have this capacity to know where are we using it, where are we not using it, why are we not using it?
Access consciousness has shown me like our ability to, you know, perceive, know, be, and receive so much more than what we were ever taught, educated. It's like,
well, you were never taught to be the amazingness of you. You were always taught to fit in and to get it right and to do the right thing and right. And it's like, what if there was nothing ever right and nothing was ever wrong? What other choice would there be?
One of the things that you mention a lot is you talk about, you know, your wrongness is your strongness. And I see that with X-Men, like people say they're disabilities, but they're not. They're actually abilities.
Pretty much the entire world tells you you're wrong about things. And it's like, and 90% of what people have told you you're wrong about is what you're actually good at. What if what you're good at is way better than what you think it is? And what if you were willing to have that goodness, that joy, that possibility, instead of thinking that there was something wrong with you? How many of you gave up something that you were good at because somebody told you that you loved that you couldn't do it?
And if we could all actually claim and acknowledge the capacities we have, we could create a very different world and a very different future.
Well, it's like, what is it you're capable of that you don't even know? You know, but nobody asks you that.
No, and I was just about to say, what percentage do you get people actually choose what they're capable of? Like trying to maintain normality, like 10%? Maybe I'm being generous.
You're being generous. It's like most people try to avoid being everything they are because they figure if they don't have to be what they are, then they don't have to actually admit what they're capable of.
Like most of us have a little bit of OCD, ADHD, autism in us. It's
A
like, but
little
what if
bit.
yeah, a lot. What if we stopped hiding it? What world could we create? And what capacities and abilities have you been, like you said, Gary, avoiding and hiding from you and the world that would actually enable us to create something entirely different here on planet Earth?
You come in with the abilities and you can expand them, and you come in, and it's like, and you don't recognize your abilities. And once you begin to recognize them, you can do amazing things. But it's like, it's like when you say you can't know that to a kid, it's like he goes, oh, I can't know it.
Mm.
But you did know it. How'd you know it? My question is, how'd you know? It's always amazing to me that people try to make it wrong that people know stuff. It's like, why would you make it wrong that somebody knows? I'm always curious, how do you know that? And I begin to realize there's something that we've tried to create in our heads to create these divisions of what we can and cannot know that actually doesn't always work.
Well, the magic, the miracles, and the possibilities. And to me, all of this topic around X-Men and using the Access Consciousness tools is unraveling, discovering, exploring, and acknowledging the magic, the miracles, and the possibilities that we be here on planet Earth and working with planet Earth and the whole entire universe, as you say. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the adventure of living. Let's go.
Well, what are we actually capable of that we're not acknowledging or never acknowledge? The main thing is with the X-Men classes, you may find that you have some talents and abilities you were not aware of that you've been denying and pushing away instead of using, and you may find that it's very helpful when you do.
What if you stopped trying to be normal and you actually started trying to be you? That's what I'm inviting you to. That's what Gary's inviting you to. That's what Access Consciousness invites you to. What if there was no wrongness of you and you get to unravel and discover all of these capacities, and abilities that you have? Let's do this.
When I started that journey of winning, I had a lot of shadow, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of bullied, harassed, betrayed kind of feelings. And I decided in the back of my subconscious mind that the winner seemed to dodge all of that. So the winner gets the girl, the winner gets the money, the winner gets the laughs, the winner gets to call the shots, the winner gets the say on it, last say on everything. The winner, everyone laughs at the winner's jokes. Right. So I kind of went, all right, well, I need to be the winner. So a switch flipped, and I went really well in the ocean because of my connection to the ocean, to connection to the mother and to this beautiful element. But at the same time that I was connected, so therefore flying and moving fast through it and growing this connection, this relationship with her, with the mother. At the same time that was happening, this ego and this insecurity and this fear of I need to win, I need to get in control, I need to be the one, if I'm not winning, I'm not in control. If someone else is in control, I'll be getting flushed and initiated and bashed and all that sort of stuff. So I had this really fascinating thing where my spirit was growing and learning, and at the same time, my ego was growing with it, and the ego being the insecurity and the fear and the lengths I would go to not feel like that anymore. So at the end of all that, there's an old saying a spiritual teacher said to me once, and that is, when you have a solution to a problem without a change of awareness, that solution eventually becomes the problem. So my solution was be the winner and I'll never have to feel this again. And at the end of all that, the winner was the problem. I had to actually deconstruct the winner in me.
Right.
Which is all the elements of that fear and ego and insecurity. And as I did that, it was a really cathartic dark night of the soul and a beautiful learning. And I went from being a motivational speaker and a coach and a commentator to being a clearer and a facilitator and a journeyman myself. And I fell in love with the process of doing the work on yourself, the inner work to be the person you really want to be. And then as you strip away the layers, what's left is who you really are, at a feeling level and a spirit level and a nature level. So at the end of my sporting career, we had the highs and the highs. I played myself on Baywatch for an episode. I hung out with Madonna and Michael Jackson and played on stage. I toured with the Beach Boys as the backup band for the Beach Boys around Australia in front of tens of thousands of people. And so we had this incredible experience of all these people wanting to be around us and, it's so hot right now and all this sort of stuff. And, so at the end of all that, I was left with a really fascinating set of feelings. And one of them was, I'm not the man I need to be. Particularly when my son was born at about 26, 27, TJ. And the rest was, but I don't want to face any of this, and they can get stuffed anyway. And a lot of not wanting to look, not wanting to confront it. And I had good people around me who said, no, that's where the freedom is. The freedom is in confronting this. So I went back and faced all these elements of this self that I built up. So I'd spent all these years building this self up so I was bulletproof. And then I'm like, oh no. And then I had to deconstruct that self so I was vulnerable again, and so I could let people in and be with people. So it's been a fascinating journey. And I say to people all the time, you wake up in the morning and you really care about your kids. But if you find out your kids are in trouble, or there's a health issue with grandma or granddad, or that money's not coming in today, or you lost that client or whatever order things show up for you is perfect. Because if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to deal with whatever turns up, which is mastery, right? But also when you're standing there facing that day, some days feel like a cyclone's hitting you. Some days feel like the wind's howling from one. Some days feel like they look like you're in paradise and everyone just wants to lay out there and lie lows. So it's not the good days are perfect and the bad days are really challenging. They're all perfect if you've decided you want to improve in yourself.
It's like, what level of vulnerability can we be with each other to say there's a different choice available, and like stand the line, like reclaim all of that. Then what do we need to be here? Like, what do we need to choose, and what can we be for each other? I sat down with myself and went, okay, what am I choosing here? Like with everything, whether it's like business, money, relationships, where do I want to live and all of that. And really not what am I choosing based on what others think I should choose. At one stage, I felt like I was going down a rabbit hole. I was so angry. It was like every molecule in my body was just getting like the anger, the frustration. And what I did know was it wasn't creating anything greater. It was just creating this destruction of me and everything around me. So I did make that demand of myself that I went, okay, you need to look at this in a different way, Simone. And that's what I started to do as well. And then that's when I'm going to say there was so many people that came about, like yourself, that you're like, hey, we got this. Like there is something greater on the other side, but there's also something greater today.
Be the warrior when it's time to work. But when someone claims that they're being the warrior and they're free, that's not freedom. That's still fighting. Freedom's up here where you're no longer fighting, you're present, you're with the situation, with love, with understanding. You're not like, oh, I gotta, what am I going to do? How am I going to stop it? You're actually just like, here I am. I've been in this moment before, but this time I'm here with presence.
Yes.
And that's how it shifts. That's how we shift consciousness is that, that I'm showing up in a different way, rather than the same way I always have.
And most people I find would rather be right than be free. And when you have that freedom of you, and that, I want to say that relaxation, the vulnerability, the trust, it's like, you mentioned before, which is something I talk about all the time in Access Consciousness, is asking questions. It's like being in question of everything. And to me, that is actually one of the most intimidating things in the world, because people can't box you in. Like now people just get really confused when I'm like, okay, well, what's right about this we're not getting? Like, what can we be today that allows this to change, and allowing whatever that is to change?
I've had a really fascinating journey around my own need to prove myself, my own need to be loved and liked and admired, my own need to be in control, my own need to win. And if I'm not winning, I'm losing. And if I'm losing, someone else in control, and they're going to take all the goodies, and I'm going to lose my girlfriend, my wife, my family, my house, my car.
It doesn't matter if you stumble and fall. We're people. It's like you screw up, you do all this stuff, but what are you going to choose tomorrow? And
yes,
what do you want to choose tomorrow? What sort of world do you want to live in?
I'll turn up to a talk and I'll actually tell them warts and all my story and the things and about infidelities and things and moments and things that I did that I'm not proud of, that made me into the person I am today because I woke up. Yep. Because I betrayed other people, I hurt other people, and then I had to feel that, I had to face it, I had to get honest about it, and I became a better person because of my stuff ups. And when I tell those stories, people will be going at the start of it going, you know, and I'm going, as I tell it through, they go, oh God, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Like, I'm an asshole too, you know, like, you know, and at the end of it, I go, who feels better? And they're all like, way better.
Yeah.
Way better. People are crying and opening up and going, oh, I'm going to go bring my wife and apologize, or I'm going to go speak to my kids for not seeing them for 6 months. Or we're all the same. We're all doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Be the best you can be. Wake up, learn, fall over. You know, freedom is actually all about making mistakes, living your life, thinking you know it all, screwing up, hurting someone, then apologizing to them, then eat egg on your face, eating humble pie for 3 days straight. And then, you know, whatever you need to do to actually end up going, oh my God, thank you so much for being in my life while I worked out that's not me. I'm not an asshole. I'm the person that at 14 years of age swam in the ocean, felt the water on my skin, loved his mates, turned up, was making a big difference whenever he walked into the club, but then one day walked in and then decided from that point in time, people don't like me, I have to be more. You know, I'm not enough.
Different. You have to be different. Yeah.
I have to be enough.
You. Yeah. We have this tool in Access Consciousness that's like light and heavy. And we always go, okay, so if it makes you feel lighter, it's usually got some truth to it. When it makes you feel heavier, it's a lie. Ask another question. Ask another question. Ask another question.
Until it lightens and you open. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Don't underestimate not just the power of who you are, but the power of how many people are waking up right now.
I've been working with you for, you know, over 21 years, I think it is to date. And forever and a day, I'll come to you and talk to you about something, whether it's with the business or life or anything. And you'll be like, relax, relax, relax. I hear him, right? I hear the words. And for years and years and years, I was like, I have no idea what this is, right? But I didn't ask a question. Bad, Simone. And then I was standing in my kitchen one day and you told me to relax again. And Sarah Watt, a friend of mine who we work with, was there. And she looked at me and she said, what does relaxation mean to you? And I was like, God, good question. And I realized I had no idea. And I was, you know, most people look at things like go for a walk. It's like, you know, have a bath, all these things. And I knew that that wasn't it. And there was something bigger and greater. So for 3 days, I went for a walk on the beach, long walk on the beach, and I ran this process that I created just to get some clarity. And it's what energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, possibilities, power, and potency can my body and I be that would allow us to be total relaxation for all eternity with ease, joy, and glory. What I noticed after 3 days was time became not relevant. And then when I noticed when time became not relevant, judgment sort of started slipping away and outside of my world. And I'm going to say to date, I pretty much went, oh, there you go. I have another awareness, but I guess I stopped asking for more relaxation. It was sort of like, oh, I've got this, you know, but I got the amount that I could quote unquote control, I guess. And now I'm truly asking to explore what is true relaxation. What is that for you, Gary? How would you describe that?
Well, true relaxation. It's like we make choices and we make decisions and we make conclusions and we do all this stuff and you do and do and do and do, thinking that eventually that will create something. And the problem is our do becomes the do of our life. And, you know, it's a different world than that can be created if you're willing to have it. But you have to be willing to have it. You have to not try to judge to determine what you're going to receive.
There's a quote that I have from a class that you and Dane just did. Never go to conclusion and everything will continue to change. Everything in life is a beginning and nothing is a completion. This relaxation occurs when you know nothing is yours.
As long as you think you can control it or you think you know what you want, you've already defined the limits of what you're willing to have in life. If you have no definition of what you're willing to have, then you can have unlimited things and unlimited possibilities and unlimited everything. You have to look at it from the point of view of What are you trying to accomplish with this? When you ask a question, what is the purpose of the question? To gain awareness or to gain result? And most people do it for result. They're looking for control. They want it to turn out the way they've decided it should turn out. That has nothing to do with the possibility of what could turn out or show up. So most people want the best of this reality. They don't want a life that they have no control over. They want a life that they can predict and that can be predicted by others and can be seen by others as the life they think it should be.
What are some of the tools that you would suggest for people to start changing this?
Start looking to be in question. It's like when you have a conclusion, you cannot receive anything that doesn't match your conclusion. When you have a judgment, anything that doesn't match your judgment, you cannot receive. So you don't open the doors, you close the doors to possibility in favor of the one thing that would give you control over everything is always knowing the result. And it's like most people, especially in business, try to know the result. They want to know that they can make X amount of dollars. But X amount of dollars is the least amount you can make, not the most. Not about what could be created or what can be created and what kind of money could occur if they weren't looking from a limited point of view. I'm always looking to how I get unlimited in my point of view.
One of the things that you asked yesterday was if you woke up tomorrow and everything in your life was gone, like everything you ever knew that was gone, what would you choose? And for me, it was like, I'd open my eyes up and I would look at the world with fresh eyes. And I would always create, but what would that be?
I realize today, as we're talking about this, I realize, I still have the point of view. I'm interested in what people choose. I'm interested in how people choose. I'm interested in how they see the world and how they choose what they're going to choose. And it's like, it's amazing to me how few people are interested. People want to be interesting. They think if they're interesting, then people will take care of them. Even the way people create relationships. They follow somebody no matter how good it is or bad it is. They just follow them. They don't actually choose what's going to create something greater or bigger or more wonderful.
Well, they do that with relationships, family, money, business, like all of these things that they've decided are the greatness of this reality rather than what's beyond that. You can be right and wrong in a nanosecond, but don't, like, if you sit in it and you get stuck in it, that's when it's a limitation rather than, for example, you're driving along on the freeway and then all of a sudden you go, move lanes from awareness and there's a car comes screaming down or something. Okay, so you made the right choice to move lanes.
And they have to prove it was right by doing something in order to prove it was right. Whereas for me, I just go, okay, change lanes, done. And it's like, and I don't think about it again. How I be in the world is by choosing always. Choice creates.
I'd like to sort of circle back around to this relaxation. And if you're being relaxation with your bodies, so much relaxation and unlimited receiving with that, which you mentioned, unlimited possibilities before. So unlimited receiving as well. And what else is possible? Yeah.
What would it be like if you relaxed yourself into receiving so much money you were too rich to ever lose it?
I love access consciousness so much. How did we get so lucky to have these tools to be creating something entirely different? And 21 years I've been using these tools. My life changes all the time. And then boom, it's like something else shows up and I'm like, okay, it's like sludge or really uncomfortable, but it's like, I have the tools, I have the willingness to choose. Like our choice is just so potent of what we can choose next.